Well, welcome to the very first episode of the Business Growth Playbook. I'm Jeff Evans, Chief Creative Officer and a fractional CMO. I'm here to help you cut through the noise and find what really works in growing your business. And I am joined with my other host, Dean Nolley. How are we doing, Dean?
Hey, we're doing great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell everybody about yourself and why we're here today.
Hey, Dean Nolley, Outsourced VP of Sales and Advisor, Sales Growth Imagination, empowered by Sales Acceleration. I do what I do because I'm able to go down memory lane. A lot of people that do what I do have come from large companies. While I started with a large company, I intentionally left to start my own business. Successfully started with a partner. We sold it successfully to Applied Graphics Technologies. To this day, that partner is still a best friend. A number of other Silicon Valley startups, and then a run of 4 or 5 VCPEs, that led into Icon Rico. So I have walked the walk in small businesses. I enjoy that part. So to me, this is like walking down memory lane. I have my own business, and I get to go touch and help 6-8 customers simultaneously fix problems, help them grow their business.
Yeah, you do. You do. And I think this, I'm going to learn more from you in the show than I think a lot of other people will. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it. So I think today we were talking about it beforehand. We're going to start with the L word, leads, and the battle between the sales and the marketing departments, and some helpful hints on kind of how to manage this from kind of both sides of the aisle. Because in a lot of companies, there is a lot of disconnect between the two, between sales and the marketing departments.
You've been very nice with that comment.
We have to be nice. So tell us some of your experience there, at least from the sales side. What are you seeing?
Unfortunately, you would think the most natural collaboration would be marketing and sales.
You'd think.
There have been a lot of challenges across so many different boundaries. But I think what happens is you start with leaders that are not being open and candid with each other, and they're not addressing real issues with either quality of leads, type of leads, sales potentially not following up and or taking accountability. So I think the most important part is that collaboration at the top, and you have to be able to have very honest and open feedback. I mean, a question that I'll use with a lot of my clients, they don't get real happy when I actually use it. I ask for permission to piss them off.
Right.
And I ask for that up front. And it's not to, play any games. It's really to make sure that they understand that I'm going to give them honest feedback. I'm not challenging. I'm not trying to attack. I'm just trying to say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. And I think what happens, that doesn't happen on the front end. And then it kind of is felt and trickles down throughout the entire sales organization and marketing. So At first you may see the managers, then you may have the reps, you may have other resources. And after a while, people stop doing basic things that we all have been taught to do. I mean, to follow up, to really challenge themselves on the quality of the leads. Or the sales reps simply don't follow up on the lead. And that is, a lot of companies spend a lot of money, and to not have that collaboration at the top, it will absolutely cripple both the marketing and sales organization.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely speak on that from the marketing perspective. So, when you're running digital marketing campaigns specifically, you're looking for nothing but leads at that point. A lot of direct response. Yes, there's branding, but you really want that lead, that lead count to come up, and that's where I think a lot of people kind of, they missed the mark. You spend a lot of money on digital marketing to generate a lot of leads, but then the marketing people are all excited because there's a lot of leads coming in, but they don't really understand the quality that is there or not there. And again, I think that comes down to lead forms. As simple as that is, what kind of questions are we asking these people before they fill out their information? Making sure that a lot of the forms are mandatory. So you'll get less leads, but a much higher quality when you ask the right questions.
Right.
But then again, it comes into, well, how do you ask the right questions? You have to talk to the people that are are speaking to the leads, that are speaking to the clients, and who are they? They're the sales staff. And again, that's where they need to communicate. They need to have those types of meetings back and forth so that they understand what people are actually looking for or what the quality of that lead needs to be.
Well, and I think the other part is the entire process. Meaning I have one client now where there was a new lead source in addition to their traditional methods with an outside marketing company. The leads, a lot of work being put into the process, a lot of collaboration. One of the missing gaps was someone internal to be able to validate those leads. And when I say validate, they're not challenging the lead itself, but there are certain leads that they could tell were bad leads. They were outside the geographical area the company does business. They would see some that were people, pretty much scam leads where someone had just filled out and responded. So I think someone vetting those, so by the time they don't catch them all, but they are taking some out of the process that were random. So when the sales professionals are seeing them, they understand these have already been vetted, and they immediately are responding to the leads. And we've had some good success there. And it doesn't mean they're all going to lead to a deal, but hopefully they're leading to something that's going to be put into the pipeline for a future opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ways that, especially nowadays with AI, that you can actually vet leads before they even reach the sales department is through automation. So whether that's email automation or text messaging automation, there are ways to, when the leads come in, to start having conversations with these leads automatically with AI. And then based on decisions or, if you use like Facebook Messenger, you can do chatbots or whatever. Based on whatever they choose as the answer, will then, give them the next question, or it might just throw them into a pile that says it's not a qualified lead, right? It's a fascinating thing, and it's gotten a lot more prevalent, especially in, say, home service businesses and things like that, because of the fact that everyone's out, they're all in the field, so on and so forth, right? But it would work really, really well with a lot of corporate structures too. Being able to automate a lot gives you the ability to not have to vet as much. Now, with that being said, of course, if you have somebody in your sales staff that can, kind of vet the leads ahead of time, that's certainly something that is wanted. But, when you have, so many people doing so many tasks these days and not a lot of help in these corporations, right? Having that kind of automation can certainly be beneficial.
Well, and it also depends on the process, meaning a lot of companies have BDRs that are like inside sales. So the leads are being generated by the marketing group, but the marketing group's actually taking that to another level and actually working that opportunity, but it's by design. I mean, that structure is set up. I think when you get to the smaller companies, they're not going to have the luxury of having that, but they might have some of the administrative staff. One example I would give as well on the sales side, where I think sales can make a big difference. When you get a lead, it's a great lead, you close a deal, take the time to celebrate that. So I can think of one of the clients now with one of the sales reps where he didn't even know what he was really doing for the rest of the group because he was the newer rep on the team. He started celebrating. He was absolutely ecstatic. And all of a sudden, what we realized, the other reps were also winning on leads. They weren't celebrating them. So we kind of made sure they started talking and collaborating, because what you start finding are some best practices.
Right.
And in one case where the marketing group built some phenomenal collateral, the one sales rep, as he followed up, would take the time and stop by the prospect and actually build credibility by handing off the marketing collateral materials, because it was another way of validating, hey, this is a good company, good culture. He was able to meet them, make that contact, not always, but the key, that extra effort. When the other reps saw that best practice, guess what? You start seeing other activities. Well, as you can imagine, that's another great way of building a partnership with marketing, by just simply doing some of the right things that you should be doing. But this one rep was doing it in the spirit because he was winning deals and he was excited about it.
Yeah. That's incredible. Just something as simple as a handout, we get, and I certainly am, because that's my expertise is digital, but we get caught up in that. Sometimes it's just something as simple as a printout that you hand to somebody in person. People like that personal touch. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I love that. All right. So we have some geographical issues with some leads. Okay. So you mentioned that they were outside of their geographical location. So obviously I want to touch on that really fast. When you're building out your campaigns or you're managing the marketing team that you've brought on, or speaking with your CMO or whomever's in charge of this, if they're using Google ads, if they're using Facebook ads, the Instagram, TikTok, and all of that, make sure that you have the right geographical locations set up.
Correct.
Okay. Well, you can do zip codes, you can do mile radiuses, whatever that you need to do, but make sure that this is set up correctly. I've seen it so many times just scrolling on my own feed of companies in Florida that I've never even talked about, looked at, and, have nothing to do with. And it's just poor management of those campaigns. So, it's the little things, but you have to do that. Don't take the marketing agency's word for it, especially when you're dealing with some of these, we'll call them more corporate marketing firms. Make sure that you have actual numbers that you can look at, not just printouts that they send you, right? So you want access to all of it: Facebook ads, Instagram ads, the whole campaign, Meta's platform, TikTok's platform, and Google Analytics is such a simple and free thing, but please have access to that. Do not trust the numbers that are coming from your agency. Always have full looks into everything, because I've seen it time and time again, spin, and it's just never the actual data. They're just holding you hostage. You know what I mean? And so you want to make sure that you have full transparency into everything that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we have leads coming in. We're working on the quality of the leads. What are some of the questions that sales staff can ask of the marketing staff to help them do their jobs better? What do you think?
Well, just at a high level, you got to look at the go-to-market strategy, meaning, are you selling direct? Is direct going to be something where you're going in to set up appointments and be face-to-face? Are you going through channel partners? So dealer, distributor, VAR, integrator, other distribution channel partners. Are you operating with a scenario to where you're able to sell over the phone, over Zoom capabilities? Maybe it's a SaaS model, but you're setting up your entire BDR team. They may be together, they may be around the country in different time zones, but I think that part is real critical on the front end to make sure that whatever product or solution service that you're driving, that you really are mapping that lead process to the specific go-to-market strategy, direct, indirect, BDR SaaS model, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do we think about shared metrics involving both marketing and sales? So we need, obviously, lead totals, but really lead quality. We need, what other kind of metrics, shared metrics do we think we need from this perspective?
Well, I think celebrating the successes are critical.
Yeah.
But I think with the metrics, and I'll kind of back up a little. My older son, I won't say where, but in one of his career opportunities, what he and the other account managers figured out very quickly were which ones were the best lead generation resources in marketing.
Oh, yeah.
So they were very quickly trying to maneuver and determine how do they get he or she, whoever is doing the best job, aligned to their accounts. And you'll see that, you'll watch that motion. Now, I'm not saying, it's a good and a bad thing, because at the end of the day, what I think you need to look at is really on that front end, what are the metrics around the quality of the lead, and depending on what you're asking resources to do in marketing that are following up or vetting those leads, you need to really understand on that part, because if each of those individuals have different skill sets, being onboarded differently, their experience of what they have done in sales or marketing over the years is different, that outcome is going to be different. So you could have some basic onboarding, training aspects that need to be incorporated. But I think on the win side, I mean, what you do see is you're tied to the results of those territories in those reps. So in one case, I can think of an account where it's all channel marketing done with the dealer of VARs. Whoever that marketing lead gen, that person is aligned to, they're benefiting, and they have quotas and goals and targets that are aligned, similar to how the sales professionals would have revenue and profit targets. Mm-hmm. So they're really aligned. But again, the danger in that part is almost the one analogy I used earlier. Very quickly, people are starting to look to see, okay, who's doing a great job and who is that best person on the marketing side. So I think aligning the metrics is good, but you need to also then, as you're managing those metrics, understand from an onboarding, a training perspective, on both the sales side as well as the marketing, because just like the sales professionals are looking back to the inside marketing groups, it's vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
They're also looking going, hey, I did a great job vetting this opportunity. I could have closed this one myself. If I really wish that other sales rep had that lead, because I know he or she would have closed that deal. So I think that's the part that you need to determine. Are you aligning it on individuals within marketing to the sales, or is it more of a team effort? I think you got to think through those, and depending on the product and service that you're selling, and depending on the competitive landscape of whatever product service you are selling, I mean, that might determine a different metrics, and maybe you mix those up. I mean, maybe it's in some companies you'll see them doing, you get your annual plans, but each quarter or different time periods, maybe it's a trimester, what have you,
right?
You'll see different programs aligned to where they can mix it up and have a little fun. And generally, all of that has been thought into what that overall compensation is needed to drive the business. So I think that part, you've got to be able to pivot. And when you're starting to see things that are really working and or not, you got to really get inside of that and understand why that is.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think that, one of the easiest ways to figure out what's working is to have your sales staff actually ask the lead where they came from. It sounds simple, but when you're looking at marketing campaigns, especially now with the amount of remarketing or retargeting that's going on, the first touch point might have been a Facebook ad, but then they might have seen them on a YouTube ad or Google Display Network somewhere else out there, or a random billboard or newsletter or whatever it is, right? So at the end of the day, we want to know where that lead came from initially, but we also want to know how that lead closed, how that became a marketing qualified lead, how. And your sales staff has to be able to ask those simple questions and then repeat or reply back to that, whether it's in a Slack channel or a CRM or a Google Sheet, whatever medium you're using, to make sure that the marketing team knows where these people are closing more, because then that will help the marketing squad be able to fluctuate their spend, right? So we want to be able to spend more on certain mediums when we know those are going to be the ones that are going to close these people. It's kind of the top-down funnel approach, right?
The other thing I see in that aspect, tie into what you're saying there, Jeff, is the competitive benchmarking. So
yeah,
most, in any industry that you're in, trying to determine how your competitors doing. When you're seeing success, do they have it's generally not a silver bullet. They normally have a really good sales marketing process collaboration. But what are they doing to generate more quality leads and taking that into pipeline and results.
Right.
Collaboration with the sales and marketing. And, it could be that they have a unique advantage in product service, or it may be they really have a good collaborative process. So I think trying to get and understand your competitors and what they're doing can be very helpful. In a lot of industries, you see companies hire within their space, so it may be a little easier said than done. Or maybe you're finding in the same type customers you're selling to, maybe you're finding a company outside of your space altogether, but they're selling in that same space. So maybe they have a process that you can master. And you're finding that on similar companies doing what you're doing, but not necessarily in the same competitive space.
Yeah, reverse engineering your competition.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to start to get a better sense as to what's working already, especially if you're coming into a market that's already there, right? It's already kind of fresh, not fresh, but been there for a while and you're fresh. There are ways to see your competitors' Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube, the whole thing, right? So, and reach out to us if you want to know exactly how that goes, or talk to your marketing team. They should be able to do that for you as well. But it'll give you a sense as to, the marketing collateral that they're doing online, and also what their lead focus is. So are they, running a webinar, right? Or are they doing case studies for your email address? Are they doing white papers for your email address and all of that? So, when you reverse engineer their sales funnel, you get a really good sense as to what type of collateral you guys need to start discussing with your sales and marketing teams. And when you start to have that discussion, you want to talk. You want your marketing team to talk to your sales team. You want to say, "Hey, what do you guys need? What's going to work?" And here's what we've been able to find from our competitive, analysis. They're doing white papers. Okay, so we need to create white papers. So then let's go through, what company we're using for the example, so on and so forth, from there. But that way, again, it's constant communication, and that's the name of this entire episode, is just the communication between your sales and marketing teams.
No, it is. And that collaboration, it has to start at the top. And there can't be the traditional finger pointing. And normally when things are good, that's when you really should be even looking closer at what's working. I think a lot of times what happens, your companies, everything you're touching, you're winning, things are great. You really don't know the details of why you're winning in some cases. Mm-hmm. But as soon as things start going bad, that's when people start pointing the fingers. And wouldn't it have been nice when everything was good? You're growing the business, you're growing the profits, everyone's winning, companies winning, the sales professionals, everyone in marketing. That's when it's a good time to really challenge yourself to say, okay, let's make sure we really understand what we're doing that's impacting how our win rate and our success. And that generally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think we're all having a good time. No one's putting pressure. But as soon as that leadership and board starts putting pressure down, that's exactly when people start pointing the fingers. And unfortunately, it starts at all levels because people start feeling the pressure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, does not apply to this, okay? If it ain't broke, continue to find out why it ain't broke.
Correct.
So that you can continue to build on that. If you're running campaigns on all digital platforms and you start to see that, YouTube is really flying high and you're getting a lot of engagement, you're getting a lot of great quality leads through there, well, then that's when you start to up your budget. You start to spend more there when things are going good because you can have to continue. And the reason being is that your competitors are fast on your heels. They are fast on your heels. And so if you don't continue to scale and grow, you're going to die because someone else is going to come along and take over.
Well, and I think you touched on it earlier. I think any way that you can get, whether it's focus groups, whatever medium you have to get customer feedback, because the customers and a lot of your contacts can tell you, exactly what you're doing that caught their attention.
Right.
And I think so many times, especially when things are good, that's the perfect time to do those. So I think you see a lot of companies that do a number of focus groups and or other surveys. I think anything you do to have a conversation is better than doing the surveys or written feedback. I think you're going to probably get better responses. But I think anything you can do on that side, because your customers will know and they will tell you.
Yeah. I would say every single customer for every company is on their phone, no matter what. So when you're looking to generate feedback, when you're looking at focus groups, don't sleep on social listening tools, right? So social listening tools are software tools that are available where you can put in certain keyword phrasings and the software will listen for those phrasings. And so when people use that, you'll get notified of that stuff. Now, a simple one would be Google Alerts, still available. This way you can start to kind of get into the conversation that people are having when they're having it, right? And even in a corporate structure, go through LinkedIn, as simple as that, and start looking for, let's say, you're a tech SaaS company. Okay, we'll start looking at, companies that would use your product and what are they talking about? What are their employees talking about? Go, follow them if they're able to be followed. Become a connection on LinkedIn and start following these people. Get Sales Navigator, set up those search alerts,
Absolutely.
Things like that. I have to ask because you are incredibly good at this, which is LinkedIn. So I want to talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn's advertising platform is certainly unique in that its ability to get in front of whatever position you're looking for. So when you're looking at getting in front of CEOs of tech companies, you can do so. CEOs of construction companies, you can do HR departments, so on and so forth. What, in your experience or, in your knowledge, what do you think would be a good way of generating qualified sales leads through a platform like that?
That's a great question. I think from a silver bullet perspective, we all have a number of high-quality, trusted advisors. They could be customers. They could be other folks that are supporting small, medium-sized businesses. I think whoever can master most effectively how to leverage some of our best trusted advisors networks and getting them to help us, that's really where you're exponentially getting to the right audiences.
Couldn't agree more.
I think you have to spend some time in that, meaning there are, let's just use an example. I have a few individuals that they couldn't be better networked in the manufacturing space. So if I'm trying, and a lot of what I do actually is helping a lot of manufacturing companies on the sales process and people side. So to get to manufacturing, I could go through spending money on the ads, leveraging my own networks, placing what I'm going to do with webinars, podcasts, or other posts, maybe trying to generate some newsletters, promotional newsletters. But the reality is, if I really want to get to the right people in the manufacturing, it's going through those people that I know and hoping that I can find a way to where they will help me, because exponentially is their contacts are all manufacturing. So guess what? Most of their contacts are manufacturing.
Yeah.
So I think those who can figure and master that part and get that message. So you got to find value into how it helps. And I think value means you can't be selling. It's got to be educational. And I think I know I get challenged with that myself. And as someone who's helping companies grow sales, build sales models, I'm like on double secret probation, meaning I have to educate, then I have to back up and even educate more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, that is the one area that I think exponentially, and it depends on what your business is and who you're trying to touch, right? But then the other part, I just saw something from a good friend, Steve Beecham. He had a post just yesterday talking about social media and kind of talking about all the different mediums and just really talking to, in one of his speeches, about how to best leverage that part. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, it was one of those that that kind of hits home because there's so many no-cost options that you can leverage, and most of us are not leveraging them. But one of the key components, he said, because he was asked a question by one of the folks in the seminar, like, well, how in the heck do you know what time? I keep hearing so many different mixed comments. And he said, he says, real simple. Pick a time, then pick the next one. Do the next one. And they're like, well, you're talking about multiple posts of the same thing in a given day. And he says, that's exactly what I'm saying, because he said, I know people that they're up bright and early in the morning, and you better have that post there. Some are late morning, some are in the afternoon, some are in the day, some are at night. So if there's something message you're needing to go, he said, there's not a right or wrong way to do it. You just need to do more of it, and, within a given day. And, I think that one kind of stood out, because I know I personally have always looked at, when I'm sending out, I'm really gauging on either one of two things. I'm looking at Sunday nights, Monday mornings, to really hit the impact of the people that I think I work with as trusted advisors, most commonly. But at the same time, if I have, like tomorrow, I have a webinar with Jeff Bitten, the owner of Pitch 59.
Right.
I'm looking at that date of Halloween at 9:30 in the morning. I've been looking at that date, and I back up and go, how many times do I want to have a promotional LinkedIn and/or from my CRM, the same message coming from a promotional newsletter, and when do I want to trigger those?
Yeah.
So you're kind of backing into the date. But I think at the end of the day, Steve's message was right on the mark, is there's not a right or wrong way, but you need to be doing more of it.
I couldn't agree more, obviously. It's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing right now, obviously, is to bring more value and trust into the marketplace, and to have content for both of us.
And thank God that you know how to do this.
Yes, I do. Thank God.
I have a good friend in marketing.
It certainly helps the situation. Well, it's the least I can do for everything that you've done for me. But I want to touch on the educational piece as well, because I think it's really important, especially from the high-level execs and the CEOs, to understand that we're probably in the lowest trust economy we've ever been. And what that means is that people really don't trust anybody, including businesses. We can thank the mainstream media, whatever you want to think about, but the fact remains that we are in a very, very low trust economy. And so what that means for, executives specifically, is that you have to put out a lot of valuable educational content to get people to understand that you are the right fit for whatever product or service that you're offering. It cannot be just basic stuff anymore. Like, you really have to put it out there. And going back to what you said about what Steve said, which is correct, you have to put out as much as you can. Gary Vee goes a little extreme and says, 3 to 4 times on LinkedIn every single day. People aren't on LinkedIn enough, really, usually, so that it just kind of gets lost in the grand scheme of things, if you ask me. But at least once a day, I think, is a good thing to have, if possible. And now with LinkedIn's ability to actually have vertical short form video, we're now able to open up a whole new avenue of being able to educate our prospects, educate the leads, because you have to be able to do that.
Well, it's, one of the other parts, because I had asked Steve a question on this, is, because I've been helping him, and I think what we all need to do more of, and there's different levels of servant leaders, and even when we're trying our best, we're probably not as good as we should be. So I'm going, one of the things I've learned in this is, and I've had a lot of coaching from others that have a lot more experience than me, is it's give, and give.
Yeah.
Now, you might not know when it's coming back, but that's okay. If you do enough good things, it's going to come back. So a good example is the brainstorming in bottles, or bottles and brainstorming session that they're doing in Alpharetta, that Beecham is doing with some really good speakers.
Yep.
I took the time and actually got the JPEG and the PDF, and I have that being reposted strategically 5-6 different times through LinkedIn. I also took the PDF and made sure it was dynamic with the link and fired that out from my CRM. I didn't put anything about myself. It was about Steve and the speakers, their experience, and the same thing with the CRM. If you saw the flyer that goes out,
I did.
It didn't change. It didn't have my name on it.
No, and it didn't. It didn't need to.
I look at that as, okay, I'm doing that part and trying in the effort to help, but I know that's going to come back around. And it's really that I think we need to do a lot more of that. I mean, as you know, Joe Carr and EOS, we did the same in our Trust Integrity group for Joe. He had the spotlight, which is his 25-minute, 20-minute presentation on what he does and where he needs help. And then we talk about it as a group, and then everyone tries to help each other and really be a servant leader outside of what you might normally do. So one of the things that we saw, Joe was doing a workshop, a 90-minute EOS workshop. And so I took his PDF, JPEGs, actually repurposed them, CRM, to several thousand CEOs and CFOs within, say, a 25-mile radius of downtown Cumming, like zip code 30004. And then also in the LinkedIn post, well, guess what? As we talked about it, there were 4 others in the Trust Integrity group that did the same thing to help. And I think those are the things, because now Joe is out marketing himself. He's leveraging the great facility we're in with great people here at Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce, and they were help promoting the event. But now he has 5 peers. Well, we all have, 3,000, 4,000 connections. Some are the same. A lot of them are different. So as a result, he had a very successful workshop with a lot of people that were there, both business owners, other trusted advisors wanted to learn more about EOS so they could understand how to better relate to clients about EOS. So I think those are the things that we all can do a better job of. Some of that needs to be conscious and strategic, but in general, I'll take the time to do it to help others, and you won't even find my name, phone number, or email address, or other than you might say, okay, Dean reposted this.
Yeah.
You can see that part. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, I think, for a CEO or a high-level exec that's listening or watching, I think what Dean he's saying is that, man, take the time and be in a networking group. Seriously. It's a little outside the scope of episode 1, but hey, let's roll with it, because it's our show and we can do what we want. But find yourself a networking group of people that are like-minded that can help you. A networking group that, like a Trust Integrity or BNI, Provisors, whatever groups that are aligned with what you're trying to do with your business, because it's like having a sales staff to be able to help you. When you're in a good group, there's some groups that have not been so good. So you have to take your time and really kind of make sure you're in the right group. Trust Integrity, obviously, if Dean's running, it's going to be a great group. I'm in some others as well, and I look forward to coming to Trust Integrity next week and helping where I can too. So when you're out there and you're looking for other ways of building your network, because your network is your net worth, then look at some of these groups. Reach out to Dean, reach out to myself, Joe Carr. Obviously, Steve's the frickin' man when it comes down to a lot of this stuff too. Currently reading all 4 of his books, one at a time, by the way, one at a time. But there's so many good people out there that can help you get to that level. And you might think, oh, I'm too busy to, I have too many things going on to do this. There are a lot of early morning groups that meet early enough for you to be able to meet and build those relationships and then get back to the office and get down to business.
And there's so many good ones too.
Yeah.
A lot of people are in multiple groups, but some you pay into, others you don't. I think the key is getting in right groups that you're comfortable, you have the right people, and then, because there's not a right or wrong. It's really what works for each individual. And depending on your B2B, B2C, where you're really focused geographically, as an example, that can also make a play. I mean, are you looking in a group across Atlanta, or are you looking for a group in Forsyth, Dawson, Hall counties? I mean, it really makes a difference. But,
Yeah.
But back to the LinkedIn part, I will tell you, there's so many things that you can do there with, tagging people with @ or tagging different groups. I mean, I think that part's important too, because what I've noticed is where we have posted different information. It could be a Pitch 59 or KnowledgeNet AI. A few of those tools have been absolute home runs because they can help trusted advisors just like they can help small business owners, CEOs. What is amazing, and it makes you feel pretty good, you'll watch some of these groups repost it nationally.
Yeah. You got
like when I went to the high-tech prayer breakfast, which that was tough, 5:59 start. So you're getting up about 3:45 and you're ready for a nap about noon. But what a great event for obvious reasons. But I will tell you, I mean, I felt honored because I took the time with Steve Youngblood, who was kind enough to invite me as his guest. I got to see a lot of people that I knew across Atlanta, trusted advisors, some C12 chairs. I mean, there were a lot of great people there. It's such a big group, you didn't get to see everyone you wanted.
Right.
But when I posted that, there were individuals I don't even know who reposted it to their network, not for me, but for the other venue. And they did as well. So I was flattered when I saw that, because I simply tried to take the time and acknowledge people I knew that were there.
Yeah.
What they did, their speakers were fabulous. But that's the other part you can do to help yourself, and people turn right around and help you. And, I got a couple new connections out of that, and that wasn't my intent. It's from people that are very important in Atlanta, and I never knew them before.
Yeah.
Just taking the time to do it, and a lot of people don't do it because they're like, I don't really want to make comments out. And that's the other part on LinkedIn. It is rare that you will see me do a thumbs up. If I'm going to not be more respectful than a thumbs up, and I'm not saying thumbs up are bad, I'm saying at times you're going to do that, it's more appropriate. I try to take the time to put some kind of comment in. And it might mean you actually need to read their post. I mean, some people, they don't take the time to read the post. So if it's someone that's important to me that's been a good trusted advisor or customer, I'm trying to take the time to read what they've sent out. I've got a number of Vistage chairs that I work with, and they put out some great content, but you do need to take time to read it. And then you can actually put a intelligent comment down, but then still take the time to tag, because I think that is a lot more meaningful. And what I notice is a lot of other people do the same thing. So next thing you know, you're getting into a pretty good conversation amongst people helping each other, and you don't even know 90% of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great thing. And I think that's, it takes 2 seconds, no matter how busy you are, just take a minute and read the post. LinkedIn's becoming flooded with newsletters. I know I'm doing one myself. And it's been great, really has. It certainly helped me, and it helped me meet you. So I'll continue to do it. But take the time, just read through some things, And if you see a whole lot of emojis in somebody's content, it means it's AI written. It's not from them. If you see a whole lot of emojis, we all know the secrets. But I think that we should kind of wrap up this episode, because I think that we've kind of figured out where we're going to head with our next episode, which is selling and marketing through LinkedIn. Now, this show will also be an interview-style show. We're going to go out. We're going to interview all sorts of great, wonderful business owners, CEOs, high-level execs about what they're doing to grow their businesses, and just get to know them a little bit better as well. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up. But to recap today, again, make sure that your sales and marketing teams are aligned. You're having at least bi-weekly conversations, so that we are able to know exactly what's going on. You can hear Dean is incredibly busy. So we're going to wrap up the episode. Dean, is there anything that you want to sign off with before we go?
Yeah, just a couple of things. That collaboration with sales and marketing, celebrating the successes.
Yep.
That is critical. Past that, it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we both owe Sean Donahue.
We do.
Down at Sarasota at Tidewater, who's I really appreciate Sean for introducing us.
I know.
It's kind of embarrassing that we live 15 minutes away and both are involved with a lot of the same people. And we'd never met, but I'm sure glad we have.
Me too. And I'm looking forward to a great relationship together to grow the Business Growth Playbook together. We're going to be out there. We're going to have different episodes. We do want to thank Forsyth County Chamber for allowing us to use their boardroom today. Thank you so much, Jesse, for the opportunity to do so. We greatly appreciate it. Wonderful place, wonderful people. If you're not a member of the Forsyth County Chamber and you live here and you run a business, you should. So take care. Dean, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeff.